Hi everyone, welcome back. Hope some of you managed to find lunch. This is always the killer session, right? Because we're in the post-lunch kind of dip, so we've got to keep that energy going. It's really lovely to have you all here. This session is going to be having a look at the cloud and how that works with radio and radio technology. I mean, we've been using the cloud in radio for quite some time, but it's a good point to have a look at where we are, what's happening in future trends. And don't worry, I know we've got some people here who are techie and some who aren't, so we'll keep everything together for everyone. So in this session, we're going to have a little look at how we got to where we are. So Chip Jellison from RCS is going to give us a bit of the context and the history of how we got to where we are with using the cloud in radio today. And then we're also going to hear from Kent Terry from iHeartMedia, who's currently able to manage 400 radio stations all across America from, I'm sure his office, but probably sometimes his bedroom, including when there's been natural disasters like hurricanes, they've been able to keep broadcasting. And then we're going to have a little look at the user perspective. So we've got Henrik Clausen from Sveriges Radio, Swedish Radio, and he's been doing a playout system project and working with all of his users to create systems that really work for journalists and producers without having to worry too much about how the technology is working, but it is using the cloud. So before we start, I'm aware that not everyone here is techie, so let's just begin with a few bits for your kind of buzzword bingo cards. What is the cloud? We hear about it all the time. Obviously, I'm from London. I'm from the UK. I'm Anne. Hi, nice to meet all of you. We have lots of clouds in London all the time. But in terms of IT infrastructure and technology, this isn't too complicated. The cloud is really someone else's computer. So it's where you store all the information and all the data at your radio station somewhere else, usually in a data center or something like Amazon S3. And the key thing is you access it using an internet connection. And that's what the cloud is. It's no more complicated than that, really. Other words you might hear in presentations or when people are talking about the cloud, so if you want to feel like you're fitting in, is on-prem or on-premises. And that basically means storing all of your infrastructure at your radio station. It's as simple as that. If anyone says on-premise, they've got the shortening wrong. Don't be that person, okay? It's on-prem or on-premises, and that's all that means. And the other word that's really important in terms of cloud stuff is latency, and that's really how long it takes the information to arrive to you. So if you're storing all your data in another country, you don't want it to take 10 seconds every time you press edit on something, or if you're having a conversation with a journalist in another part of the world, you don't need a massive delay in your headphones. So latency is just how long it takes for you to exchange the data. So now you're all experts in the cloud and network technology. We're all going to be fine. This will be great. So to explain how we got here, give you a bit more of the context and the background of how we got here and where radio is going with this technology, I'd very much like to welcome Chip Jellison from RCS. Who has the clicker?
Thanks, Anne. So, as anybody who might have been by the RCS stand knows, I could go on for probably hours talking about the subject. It's one I love and have been engaging my life in for the last 6-7 years. Where I come from, I came from radio back in the 90s. I was doing about everything you could do on a radio, went about as far in radio as I was going to go, and then decided to get into the software side of things, and eventually led the development team of things like Audio Wizard and NextGen, which are very kind of limited to the United States, New Zealand, Australia. But then in 2006, under RCS, we created Zeta for a playout system. And that was sort of taking all the best ideas that came out of Master Control and NextGen and created a brand new playout system. And as Anne says, it was an on-prem solution. I thought it might be my last playout system ever because I'd been working on so many other ones. But right about 2016, 10 years into Zeta, we'd gotten a lot of market share. We got a lot of clients using our software. I started looking around and seeing things like Google Docs and Office 365 really start getting acceptance, and businesses putting more and more workload and work flows into the cloud. And so kind of had to take that seriously. And so set about to try to figure out how to transform our development team into a development team that goes from building on-prem software to building something in the cloud. And I struck upon kind of a formula that worked for us. First of all, we took the Zeta code, the secret sauce of Zeta, and we ported that into something that would run in the cloud and then be scalable. So it was the core playout pieces. And hired a cloud solution architect who could teach our development team how to build cloud applications, and likewise, we taught him how radio applications are built. And really, the timing of all of that was, again, when Google Docs and O365 came in, but really, companies like Amazon were really focusing on security and building tools that had a security-first mentality, and what that means is that it's harder to build applications that are not secure, and easier to build ones that are secure. And so, based on all that, we started out on this project to build a cloud version of Zeta. And right about that time, one of our biggest clients in the United States was embarking on a project to try to save them a lot of money in real estate. And their plan to do that was by using what we had already developed to remove a lot of the rack rooms that they had in there so that they could move their real estate presence from large places that were about half data center and half office space and studios to ones that were almost all studio and office space. And through that savings, they were able to fund a huge amount of the development that we did over the last 4 years, to the point where we had a very, very scalable system. About 2020 hit, and then what happened was they then needed a platform to be able to start doing a lot of the content, the content management, voice tracks and station imaging. And what happened is we were able to come up with a sync between the cloud and their on-prem system that they still had while we were still building the cloud playout system. And that allowed them to move all the voice tracking to be done out of the cloud and then brought into the playout system as they were converting stations over, so that the talent got acclimated to using the system. And we also got a lot of user feedback in the process, so that was a win-win for us. And then instead of having to use, say, VPNs and remote desktop applications, they were able to just go to a secure web browser and do their voice tracks or add content for the radio station. And then the syncing would figure out whether there was a cloud station and it would be where it needed to be, or if it was an on-prem they hadn't moved yet, it would go into the system. And as a result, by probably 2021 or so, they were doing about 18,000 voice tracks a day out of this system, and really smoothing out the workflow. And so we just kept building features into the system, more and more complexity. Where we're at today is there are over 360 radio stations running in the cloud. And what that means is that the streams are coming out of the cloud. The streams are being created in the cloud and just going to CDNs for distribution to listeners. But at the same time, that program content is being sent to what we call these edge players that are at the transmitter site, which are also attached to the cloud, getting their instructions on what to play. And it's in time, everything's orchestrated in time, so that all of the players are playing the same things. And so if you've got a redundant transmitter, it's got a set of edge players that are connected. They've got 2 terabytes of storage, and they're keeping in time. If they lose internet connection, they can, and it's not a live situation, we can play the content from memory. It's all sitting there. The playlists are already downloaded. We can continue to play, and then when the network comes back up, it just syncs back up if there's any difference between where we were and catch back up to what the programming should be. We've also got the ability to go live, not only from a studio, but from anywhere. So the extreme case is if you've got a browser and a microphone and an internet connection, you can go live in our system from anywhere, and you can have participants all at the same time. And during commercial breaks, you can take everybody out of program and have a communication amongst the team that's doing their thing. But the key is everybody gets a mix minus back. They can do their show from anywhere. You can have a host in Dallas, a sidekick that's in Austin, maybe one that's in San Diego, and it all just works. And everybody can hear what's going on the radio station and do their thing. At the moment, we've got a few dozen live breakfast shows that are happening every morning on those 364 stations. Some of them are voice-tracked and some of them are syndicated, but we've also got those live stations that are every morning relying on this system to be able to get them on the air. And the system is really allowed for changing how you approach putting your radio station together, because you're not exactly limited to the studios that you have in your building. If you have a talent that you want to get on the air in a certain day part in a different city, as long as they've got rights, they can get in there. So that's really where we are right now. We've got, like I said, 364 radio stations, AM, FM, commercial radio stations that are relying on the system every day, 120 HD2, HD3 radio stations, and 200 digital only, so just streaming stations that are running every single day in one system that allows for a lot of ability to manage that centrally. And the guy that keeps that going is our friend Ken Terry, who's going to follow me over here, and he can tell you how he does that. Ken?
Well, thank you, Chip. I could talk about the benefits of not having to buy hardware every other year and keeping all the equipment updated that you currently have to do. But I want to talk about our presenters and how they use Zeta Cloud. You can see us broadcasting from a football game live with just a small mixing board that's USB into the laptop in our live UI. This guy was on vacation in France, on the beach. My friend Mel, she was very, very pregnant, about to have a baby, but she was able to work at her beautiful home studio. She's on multiple stations nationwide, and it's unbelievable. I get pictures all the time. If you want to follow our Instagram, iHeartZetaCloud, you will see hundreds of feeds from our talent and presenters just saying how much they love. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Ken. I'm like, it's not me, it's Chip, it's RCS, our development team here in Athens that make this possible. I train them and really care about the product and it's sounding good. So whether it's, he said we have 700 stations that I manage right now. If it's Barbie Radio or it's a major market station in Washington, D.C. or Atlanta, I treat them all the same. Zero downtime. We make sure everything is going to play the day before. With monitoring in Zeta Cloud, we get an alert. Hey, you're missing audio. Hey, this isn't going to play. So we can fix that the day before it's going to air to make sure all of our broadcasts are seamless. I could talk about so many things. One of the benefits with Zeta Live is we had a talent that her family was sick. So they were a morning show duo, and she could travel to California to be with her mom and still do the morning show live in St. Louis. So she had her host in St. Louis, and she was in California. It's seamless. There's no delay. It sounds like you're still in the same room next to each other. We had hurricanes and disasters. With Zeta Cloud, we can build outbound syndication. and take that one feed and put it on every other radio station in the market or an entire region and get the word out to all of the listeners of how to find safety, how to find family, friends, whatever you need. But I live in Florida. We have hurricanes every year. So we have been working to make this product as easy as possible to do that outbound one station feed to multiple stations, and they could do it from home. You know, they can be in the safety of their home with their family and not have to try to go into the studios that may or may not have power, may be flooded. It's been amazing. And we can take any feed now in Zeta Cloud, wherever it comes from, a TV feed or a partner feed. They could be the station in Miami providing data, voices and presenters to give the other people's a break. And it's live instantly with 4 clicks. I could have it on 30 radio stations all at the same time. It really, really has made that just, imagine currently with the hardware, that would take a lot of work to get implemented, but we can do it in minutes. And supporting it, how do I have that many stations and still have some hair in my head? I can control all of these stations from my phone, really. So I don't have to have a laptop, carry it with me. My daughter, she plays a lot of sports, so I travel a lot with her. And I can sit there at her sporting events, and if somebody needs help, I open my phone, click, 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 and I fix their problem, and I'm back to watching my daughter play. So it's, as a programmer, you can set up cue points individually for your station. So we have, you know, one Taylor Swift song, but every single station can set up the cue point how they want it to play out. So it saves a lot of space. You don't have to have a different version song for every station you have. And setting up your cue points on your imaging or your liners makes it so tight that back in the day with NextGen, great product, but everybody would have to hand set up the playlist all the time. And they would spend hours making it tight. A programmer told me, "You've almost saved my marriage because I used to spend 2.5 hours every night setting up my playlist to make it sound good. With Zeta Cloud, I no longer have to do that." It's really a time saver and gives you more time to be creative, you know. I know I don't have much time, so, I'm good. Okay, good. The other thing I wanted to mention was, you can do it from anywhere. So I got new imaging and new audio for my station. I have a test station that I play with, and I'm driving in the car. My wife was driving. I'm in the passenger seat, and I got my new imaging from the production guy. I loaded it from my laptop while I was in the car and had it playing on the radio within minutes, and I'm listening to it. I was live upstairs with Zeta Cloud Live to test it here at the venue. Unbelievable, quality is amazing, and they're providing decent internet, but it's, just Wi-Fi. It's nothing special. We do high school games, and you don't have to have somebody in the studio or all that extra equipment to get your feed from the broadcast place back to the studio and then somebody there to run it. With the live view, this is your studio. There's your commercials. You push play. You're in total control of your station from anywhere you may be. It could be Greece, Paris, your pool. This guy, he did a little video. He was swimming in his pool and then jumped out to do a voice track for his station. So it's been very exciting. I can't wait to launch more stations. They launched 6 stations while I was here. So we continue to launch. We'll sometimes do an entire market in one day. It's that easy. And with, even as a programmer, if you wanted to come up with a new station you want to test out, 80s radio, you could create a station with Zeta Cloud in 20 minutes and have that station just playing. You don't have to buy new hardware. You can launch it just like that. Is this going to work? And share that stream with, your coworkers and really get a feel before you launch it on a real station. So it's great to have the flexibility to provide all that information. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, I just want to do a quick test. So for those of you who don't know me, I was a radio and online producer, and then I became a broadcast engineer. So like the mixture, being creative, using technology, I really love. So I just want to see who in the room thinks they're normal, and who here found out that there was an Instagram feed full of studio photos and did an immediate follow. Okay, good, I found some of my people. And I think it just sort of shows for me like the passion and the creativity our technical community has. You know, you can see that you're creating engineering solutions and then you're finding ways that users can use them, and you're just like really excited to play with these toys and see how far they can go. And I just think, I'm very biased, but I do think that our engineers and our technical community don't always get the recognition that they deserve. So like, just for everyone here who keeps us on it, can we just like give those people a big round of applause? Because like, as I say to colleagues, without these people, you would just be talking to yourself in a padded cell, and that's not a really great look. But thinking of users, thinking of our wonderful journalists and presenters, do any of you actually care if you're using the cloud or not? Like, what do we want if you're with our user hats on when you're in a studio? What do you need from your layout? What do you need from your systems? And how do people designing those systems know, like without just guessing, especially if they've not done the job that you've done? Well, we're kind of moving to Sweden now. Henrik Clausen from Sveriges Radio, I'm so sorry, Swedish Radio, is an UX designer, and he's been working on this amazing project to revolutionize how the playout systems and the studio facilities are working for all the presenters there. So to tell us all about how he's done some user-centered design, please welcome Henrik.
Yeah, so... Right. Hello, everyone, and thank you, Anne. Yes, my name is Henrik Claesson, and I am a UX designer. Right. So, at Swedish Radio, we are currently developing our own new radio production system called RPS. And I'm going to talk about that process from a UX perspective. But first of all, UX design, perhaps that is a new term for some of you. So what does it mean? Well, UX stands for user experience. And as a designer, you create user-friendly interfaces by researching user behavior and design solutions that are usable. So we make things easy. Now, Swedish Radio has a high trust and a leading position in the audio content market in terms of range and format and sound quality in Sweden. And to be able to maintain that position, we felt the need to create a new radio production system that align with our visions when it comes to production and content and technology. Also, our current studios have actually reached their end of life, and that needs to be replaced. So, RPS is a system that we have been developing for about 3 years now, and our goal is to have this system up and running on all, I think it is 25 sites by 2028. And as of today, it's running on 2 different sites, and just the other day, last week, one of those sites did the first live broadcasting from the production environment. And guess what? It worked. So, RPS, this is mainly a cloud and software-based system. And we build cloud-native apps when we can, and we run them in a cloud on-prem. But as long as we build cloud-native, it allows us to, well, it means that we could run them in the regular cloud as well, if we wanted to. And since we are the ones who, own the software, we can also decide what features to add, if we want to make changes, and then we can push it into production in the cloud, so it becomes, instantly available to our users. And we believe that this creates a solution that is both, adaptable to future demands from our users, as well as from our audience. And it allows us to act quickly in a very rapidly changing tech world. And when we also did the math for this, and it turns out that this is a much cheaper solution for us. to go for cloud and software-based. Now, we have all this technology like cloud-native apps. We have Kubernetes clusters to automate deployment and scaling. We have Docker containers to create and deploy and run our applications. And we have software-based solutions to replace hardware. So with all this amazing technology, what can we build? Now, this could have been the topic of my presentation today, but as a UX designer, this is not the most important question for me. The question is not really what we can build. The question is really, what should we build? And by changing the word can to should, we also switch focus from what is usually known as a more tech-driven design towards what we call a user-driven design. Yeah. So let's explore those concepts a bit. First of all, what is tech-driven design? Well, a bit simplified, the 15 minutes at Radio Day's version. You can say that you look at the available technology within your organization or your company, and you create your product with the perspective of what can we do, what can we invent. Now, many tech and IT companies have traditionally used this, approach, where focus primarily is on leveraging the latest technology to innovate and enhance product functionality. And this can lead to new and cool or even groundbreaking innovations, but there is a catch. You see, if you only ask yourself, what can we build? The product might not actually be what your users need or want. So anyone who has ever known a cat could probably relate to this image. So you order the big fancy cat tree, you spend hours assembling it, securing it to the ceiling, to the wall, and when you're all done, you find your little feline friend happily resting in the box the tree came in. So you might end up spending a lot of time and money and resources on features that no one wants to use or even wanted in the first place. So you build a fancy tree and your cat wanted a box. Now, I'm not saying that tech-driven design is bad per se, but I think you have to be very aware of when and how to use that approach. So if tech-driven design focuses on the latest technology, then user-driven design focuses on the actual users. Of course, the word user often has to be a bit more defined into a specific role or persona, but once we have done that, we ask a simple question. What do you need? So we focus on user needs. Then we turn to technology to see if and how we can achieve those needs. And perhaps you're thinking, hey, this isn't rocket science. And it's not. It seems more than reasonable to have this approach, right? But still, we hear from time to time about new systems being introduced, could be in different business areas, and those systems are failing. They are a bit confusing, they're difficult to use, and sometimes they don't even let the users do their tasks they need to do their job. And I think a big reason for this is the lack of user involvement. So when it comes to RPS, we have chosen the user-driven design. And how did we go about that? Well, we did interviews and we did observations, and we mapped out all the interactions a user does in a studio. And we were paying extra attention to those things the user found, annoying or difficult or hard to understand. Those are called pain points. And while talking to our users, we also asked them, okay, so what things do you like in your current system? And what features would you like to have? The gain points. And then we combined the outcome from those two, and we formed a problem definition. Then we did workshops, we did design studios, and we did design sprints with our users, where everyone involved, was ideating and brainstorming and sketching on different solutions. And we iterated that work multiple times. So we, of course, kept the good ideas and tried to enhance them. We threw away the ideas that were perhaps not so great, and we worked our way towards some hypothesis of what we wanted to build. Or maybe I should say what our users wanted us to build for them. So this is a typical self-operated studio at Swedish Radio today, and this is what we are replacing with RPS. So it features a Mondozzi mixer, along with no more than 4 different screens used for playout and for scripts and for audio processing and for other applications you might need while doing your show. And we also have the physical faders and a lot of other peripherals. And when we asked our users, when we did our user research, and we asked them, how do you feel about this? There were 2 things that really stood out. First of all, there's like too many things to keep track of here, and they're spread out all over this desk. Now this creates not a very good working environment, and it affects the attention of the radio host. Now they can handle that, but doing live radio while handling a lot of technology can be a challenge. And second, not everyone, it turned out, seemed to be that comfortable using this technology. So our users range from people who are really into sound engineering and audio processing and all of that, to users who are not so much into sound engineering and audio processing and all that. So they find this a bit scary. So we knew we had to reduce the cognitive overload that happens here, and we had to create an interface that was user-friendly and intuitive. And we also have users with different disabilities, and we have to design for everyone. So in addition to addressing user needs, we also have a vision and some company goals when it comes to RPS. So first of all, RPS should be able to handle 85% of all our productions. And they're distributed among, I think it's around 190 different studios, which also actually means that we're reducing the number of studios at Swedish Radio today. And it should be used for both live radio and for pre-production. And it must be location independent. So what do I mean about location independent? Well, you should be able to do both live radio and pre-productions together, despite the fact that you are in different studios and in different cities. So for instance, let's say I want to do a show from my hometown of Gothenburg, together with a colleague who is located in the north of Sweden, in, say, Umeå. So then we both log on to our RPS studios, and we enter this sort of virtual audio room. You can think of it like entering a Zoom call or a Microsoft Teams meeting, but the audio quality is much, much better, of course. And then we do the show together there. So as a user, you will be able to choose where to do the show, who to do it with, and where it will be distributed. And one last thing here, we also have to work for quick onboarding. So the system you're looking at here takes, I think it's around a week of introduction, of learning and training. And when it comes to RPS, we have now, the tests we have done have shown that we're down to around 3 or 4 hours for onboarding, which is really good. Now, I was talking about company goals and visions. Well, there will be situations, of course, where user needs does not align with the company vision. And there will be cases where certain user needs are just not feasible. So we made a decision at Swedish Radio, like I said before, to move away from hardware to software-based solutions. Now, this also includes, the physical faders in our studios. So in RPS, our users will use touch-based faders on a virtual on-screen mixer in most cases. Now, this is, of course, a major change for lots of people. And as humans, as well as cats, I guess, we are sometimes, not too... we are a bit reluctant to embrace change. So when situations like this arise, it's even more important to involve and work together with your users. So I might say to them, hey, we might not be able to build something as good as a physical fader, but let's work together and see if we can do something that resembles it and is nearly as good. And perhaps this touch screen that we're now using can help us, and maybe it gives us other possibilities we didn't have before. So this is the time to innovate, and this is the time to explore, and this is the time to try out different solutions and hypotheses and work together with your users. Yeah, this is my last slide. And this is what we ended up with so far. So this is a web-based application where you handle everything on one touch screen. So we have consolidated the functionality that was spread out before. It was spread out across different screens and applications, making it easier to find what you're looking for. And as you can see, we have chosen a quite sober color scheme here. And this is because it's important to be able to create contrast. For instance, when something is turned on or turned off. So as a user, you should be able to just gaze at this interface, and you can see with a quick glance that, okay, I'm playing a song here, and it's playing on player number 2, and I also have my microphone turned on. So on the left-hand side, we have the playout part. So this is where you have your audio content. And you can move things around using drag and drop. You can pre-listen to sound, you can queue items, and you can skip items. And down at the bottom, we have the virtual mixer. Like I said, not everyone likes to do audio processing. You can do audio processing here if you want to. But for those who don't want to do it, we always make sure to have good presets for our users. On the right-hand side, we have the participants of this show. So this goes back to the whole location-independent part. So these people can have different roles. It could be another radio host, it could be a producer, it could be the local help desk, it could be the traffic announcement office. Anyone who has entered the show will show up here, as long as they use an RPS studio. And each and every one can do intercom with one another here as well. And we also have some expandable parts here from the top bar. So here, this is just showing how contributing parts, such as reporters or guests, could be added to the show. So this part has been both simplified and automated a lot compared to how it works today, or how it used to work, I should say. And this is one thing that our users really appreciate. And we also plan to include scripts for the users to be able to read their scripts here. So to conclude, when you're making a big change like we do, include the people who will be affected by that change and work together with them. So user-centric design, design for your users' needs. And this is a cloud session, so yeah, should you use the cloud or not? I would say from a user perspective, they don't really care. As long as they can do what they want and as long as things work, that's enough for them. But by building for the cloud, you make your solutions flexible and adaptable to change. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you very much. So, in case you all think we're kind of massive cloud evangelists, because it does sound like we are, if we just get our experts back up here, I just had one challenge for you. When should people absolutely not use the cloud?
If you don't have internet, that would be...
Yeah.
That's definitely...
But, that's the reality for some of us and some of our stations. And so we've heard, I think you were telling me that you've got 800 users at your station.
Every day.
And for you, you're using the cloud to help you solve the problem of your design rather than deciding you're using the cloud first. And we've heard it can save your marriage, so that sounds very good. I'm sure lots of you here have got questions, and I particularly know that some of you might have questions about how to design your next system or what kind of architecture you need. And the absolute best way, I think, to deal with that, because we've got these amazing experts here, rather than having a big Q&A here, is if you all go to the RCS stand, I hear rumour they have very good coffee. And these guys will be hanging around, so that's probably the best way of getting all your questions answered. But thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the show, and please have a wonderful last thank you to all of our amazing speakers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.